The levee's gone and there's no one here to help you now.
Hi, I'm John McCann from Survival Resources. I want to do a quick, or maybe not so quick, review today of a new product. This product is one that is made by Pathfinder. It's called the Pathfinder 1.2 liter kettle, stainless steel. Now, right up front, I'd like to state that Dave Canterbury knows how much I love my coffee. So he wanted to send me one of these gratis for me to look at and analyze and maybe do a review of. I had to refuse that because most people who know me know that over the years I never accept free products, that I believe that if I'm going to possibly review a product, I want to be able to buy it myself so that I can be brutally honest with it. The second thing is that I often don't do reviews of products that I can't sell at Survival Resources. The reason for that is, obviously, I want to be able to sell the product and not send my customer somewhere else. However, in this case, Pathfinder Self-Reliance Outfitters have decided not to sell this through their dealers until at least 2018. So therefore, that was another reason that I wasn't sure if I wanted to do a review. So now I know the big question out there is, well, John, why are you doing a review? Well, I'm going to tell you why, because I love this thing. I really do. This is a neat little kettle, and most people were going to go, John, it's a kettle. Yes, it is. And we've had kettles. This is a kettle I've had for probably 20 years. Here's another kettle by Optimus. Fits right in your pack. All these kettles are nice to have, but the Pathfinder kettle has what I call a different feature to it, which I personally told Dave I thought was genius. That may be going a little too far, but I really think it is. Now what I'm going to do is bring the camera in a little closer, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about with this kettle. Okay, this is a close-up of the Pathfinder 1.2 liter stainless steel kettle. Now why do I find this different than these other kettles? Well, I'll show you why. And that's once you take the lid off, you will find that it has an internal filter basket. This here is what I consider the genius part of the pot. Maybe genius is going a little too far, but I tell you, it's very smart. I've never seen this with any other kettle. The advantage of this is it gives you so many options to use this kettle. In the John McCann vernacular, I call this multi-versatile, okay? The reason why is you can use this as a coffee basket. You can put this in here and you can make coffee. Put the coffee in here, put the water in the bottom, fill it up, and then boil it, and you have yourself a cup of coffee. Now the other thing with this is if you're into medicinal plants, you can use this for infusions. You can actually use it for decoctions. What do I mean by an infusion? Well, one is some type of tea out in the field. And one of my favorite teas out in the field is pine needle tea. I have an entire article on the Survival Resources site that shows you how to make pine needle tea. What you would do in this case is you would put water in this and you would boil the water. You would put your pine needles in this, set that inside the pot, and now you have a steepy, that's probably not even a word. You have the ability to steep your needles in here. Once they're steeped, all you have to do is take the needles out, and now you have your pine needle tea in your kettle. This is a very versatile thing. What else might we be able to do with this? Well, let's talk about a steamer. Now my wife, as most people know, is a very good cook. She taught cooking for a lot of years over in Switzerland. And what she likes about this is actually a steamer. What do I mean by a steamer? Where you put a little water in the bottom of this and you can steam things. Like what? How about crayfish? You could steam crayfish in this. You could steam small clams in this. What I personally like about it is you could steam vegetables in this. And we're going to try this in a little while. We're going to steam some vegetables in this. We're going to make pine needle tea. We're going to make coffee. The other thing about this is you could also use this as a rice cooker. You could put water in the bottom of this, put your rice in the top, and you could steam cook your rice right inside this kettle. Now, I've only had this for a day, so I'm sure I'm going to come up with a lot more ideas, but I think that, as you can see already, that this kettle has so many more options than any other kettle out there that is something you're really going to want to have. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get a fire started up here. Now, before I do that, let me show you some ways of hanging this, because it's going to be hard to show you that when we get the fire going, because we're going to be a little further away from the pot. One thing you're going to want to see with this, you'll notice these are rounded a little bit. There are two handles on this, okay, which is a good thing. It's also not such a good thing in some ways. So you've got to rethink how you're going to use this kettle as opposed to something that just has a single bail on it. One of the things that David showed in his original video on this is just taking a toggle and putting it on this. I've come up with a toggle, but one of the things I recommend is he used a round stick. I recommend using one that's flat on one side. So when you hold this, it holds it a lot more steady. The other thing I came up with was maybe using a dual toggle. Don't know, you're going to have to try it. But this is what I call by a dual toggle. And what you would do is you put one on one side, you would put the other one on the other side, and this would give you a stabilized platform to hold this pot so it doesn't slide forward or back on this. This is a quick and easy way to hold this pot from a tripod or from any type of a pot hook over a spit. Or what we're going to be using here is we're going to be using just a fork stick in the ground holding a simple prop stick. Okay, one last thing is a lot of people in the bushcraft community already carry what we call a fish spreader. Everybody has seen these. It's a nice little fish spreader, and what you do with this is you put it in your bottle, and that way you can suspend your bottle over a fire. Now my thought is, can you use that on this kettle? Certainly you can. Now there's various ways people are going to try this, so I've already tried them for you. One thing you don't want to do is put it on here like this, because what you're going to see is this thing is going to tip. Okay? Another thing you don't want to do is open this and try to suspend it like this. You can see what's happening. This thing is sliding forward and back. But what I found is if you open this thing approximately 1 inch and you put this on at an angle, oh, now it's very stabilized. The thing doesn't slide forward or back. It stays right there, and the weight from anything in there is going to hold this very steady. So these are just 3 quick ways I've come up with in order to hold this. Now another thing you can obviously do with this is just set it on a grill over a fire, and we're going to show that in a little while here. You can just set it on some type of a grill. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get a fire going, and we're going to put this thing through its paces and see different ways we can utilize this in the field. I'll be right back. Okay, the first thing I want to discuss is coffee. Now Dave Canterbury in his original video that showed how to make coffee, so I really don't want to be redundant. Basically you would fill this with water, you would put your coffee grinds in this, and then you would set it inside there, put the top on, and boil it. Now my thing is, Dave Canterbury likes his coffee coarse ground, I like mine fine ground. So what I found is if you get your regular basket filters, these are basket filters, now they're a little bit big for this, and you want it a little bit smaller. So I found out about 3/4 of an inch. If you take these, and you can do this at home and throw a whole bunch of them in your pack, just fold them up like this. Take your scissors from your handy dandy multi-tool and cut this thing off about 3/4 of an inch. And then you bring these with you when you go out in the field. And what you would do then, you would take your basket filter and you would put it down inside the metal filter inside the pot. Then you would take your coffee and you would put it inside of this. Once you get this filter set, you want to get this set right so that it doesn't come out. Now you would take your coffee. I have my fine ground. You would take your coffee, as many scoops you want, and you would put it inside of this. And that's the way you would do coffee out in the field. Very simple, very fast, and it makes a nice pot of coffee. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make some pine needle tea. So we're going to take this out of here, and as you can see, I've already got some white pine, 5 needles, and I've already chopped it all up nice and fine to make the tea. What we're going to do first, we're going to get some water going in this thing and get it boiling. Okay, as you can see, we're using a simple prop stick method today as opposed to a spit, just to do something a little different. This prop stick is just on a forked stick. In the ground here, we have another forked stick which is pounded into the ground right here, and that holds the back end of the prop stick down. I'm going to give you a close-up over here and show you how we just made it a little bit flat on the top to hold the handles of this kettle. Now bear with us today, we got some heavy sun here, we lost our shade, but as you can see right here, I flattened the top of this prop stick so that I could open the handles a little bit to suspend the kettle over the fire. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get this water boiling, and then I'll show you how easy it is to make pine needle tea. We'll be right back. As you can see, we're still waiting for the water to boil. What I wanted to show you real quick was just our little setup here. This is up in the woods behind our house. What we have is a small keyhole fireplace here. The advantage of this is you can boil water on one end, as you can see we're doing now, using the prop stick or using some type of a spit arrangement. The other side of this becomes very small, and that's why it's called a keyhole fireplace. And as you can see over here, we have a grill. Now what you can do as you're still boiling water or whatever, you could start raking coals over into this area here. You would then take your small grill, set it over, and this is where you would cook using the coals. You cook on coals, you boil water with flame. And this is a nice little grill here. This is called the Mini Bushcraft grill, and this will be available very soon here on our site. Made in America, stainless steel. We won't go into that much more now. We'll probably do a video later on this, but we just wanted to show you how nice a small keyhole fireplace is. I've been using these since I was a Boy Scout back in the late 50s, so it's just a nice setup. Okay, we finally got a rolling boil here. What we're going to do is take the lid off. As you can see, I've already cut up a bunch of white pine needles very fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the filter basket, set it in the boiling water. Flames are warm. Of course, you know, no matter where I go, the smoke's going to follow me. And we're going to take these pine needles and we're just going to set them in here. Now this is called an infusion. Normally what you would do with tea is we would put the tea in the cup and then pour the boiling water over it. But what we're going to do here, being we have this basket, is we're just going to take the needles and put them inside here. Excuse me for going back and forth here. Now I'm going to take my handy dandy spoon and I'm going to push these needles down into the basket. Now we're going to set the top on here and we're going to let this infuse for about 5 minutes. At that point we're going to have pine needle tea, which is very high in vitamin C. There's more vitamin C in pine needle tea than there is in a glass of orange juice. So let's wait about 5 minutes and then we're going to have a cup of tea and then we're going to move on to our next little plan here. Okay, we've let these pine needles steep for 5, 6, 7 minutes. As you can see, the pine needles are still in here. You can either take them out right away or you can just pour this. That's going to hold your pine needles. See, it's got a nice little yellow color to it. That's because pine needle tea always has a nice little tint of yellow in it. Now what I like to do when I'm out in the field is we carry these, what we call honey straws. We get them at a local store. These things are really nice because I like a little bit of sweetness in my pine needle tea. So what you do is you get these, and these are very handy. They're full of honey. What you got to do is nip the end off them. And then you squirt the honey into your tea. This adds that little bit of sweetness that just makes pine needle tea very good. Stir it up a little bit. It's still a little bit hot, so I'm going to let this cool down just a little bit before I attempt it. Yeah, it's very hot. But anyway, that's how you would make pine needle tea. A little bit of sweetener if you want it. Now what we want to do now is move on to steaming vegetables. What we're going to do is we're going to take the pot, we're going to get the tea out of this, and that's very easy. All you got to do is take the lid off, lift this. If it's still a little warm, which it is right now, what I do is I lift it out with my multi-tool, and then you can throw away the pine needles or dispose of them in a manner out in the woods. It doesn't matter, you just throw them out there, they're going to get away. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put about 1 inch of water in the bottom of this pot, just 1 inch of water, and then we're going to put our wild stuff that we're going to cook. In this case, what have we got here, baby?
Lamb's quarter.
Okay, we got lamb's quarters, we got gallon soga, and we got, oh, Asiatic dayflower, my favorite. So what we're going to do is we're going to get, like I say, 1 inch of water in this thing, and then we're going to get some steam going, and we're going to steam these vegetables up. Now keep in mind that this little basket in there is not large. Now one advantage is these will cook down very small. So for each one of these that you do, you're probably going to get a serving for like 1 person. So if you're going to have more than 1 person eating, you're going to have to do this a couple times, or what I would recommend probably is everybody have one of these, and then you can all be making your own stuff. Okay, we're going to shut this off. I'm going to empty this out, and we're going to get going with the steamed vegetable portion. Okay, I wanted to show you something real quick. We're going to do the steamed vegetables now. What you want to do is put, I say, about 1 inch or so of water in the bottom of this, because what we're going to do is put the vegetables in here and we're going to steam them. What you want to do is keep the water below this so that you're actually steaming in the basket. You don't want the water to come up into the basket, just the steam. So that's no actual amount, just make sure that when you put water in here that it doesn't come up into the basket, it stays below the basket.
Wait.
Okay, for the steamed vegetables, it's pretty easy. You can do the vegetables in here before you get it steaming, put it on and then steam it, or you can keep it steaming. What you basically do is you're going to take all your little wild edibles here, and you're going to put them nice and tight in this basket, because these are going to cook down. They're really going to cook down. Get as many in there as you can. I could probably even fit a little bit more in there, but that's what we picked. Now you're going to take this, keep in mind again the water is lower than that basket, and we're going to set this up over the fire. Now what's going to happen is the steam is going to accumulate in the bottom of this pot, and what it's going to do is steam the vegetables just like you would if you were going to steam in the at your house. What you would do every once in a while, you're going to take the top off of this, the lid, and see how the vegetables look. You may want to poke them a little bit with a stick. We'll see. Okay, you can tell when this is steaming because you're going to see steam, as you see right here. See all kinds of steam coming out the spout. That means we're steaming in here. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this off and you're going to check every once in a while. Now you can see here that these are already starting to steam down. See how they're getting less and less and less. At this point, if you had more wild edibles, you could keep putting them in here in order to accumulate more food for you to eat. What we're going to do, being this is what we have for now, we're going to leave that. We're going to put this on here and we're going to let it steam a little while longer, and then we'll show you the finished product. Okay, at this point, we have checked these, and as you can see, these are beautifully steamed vegetables here. These are great. What you're going to do is you're going to take them out of here and put them on your plate, and you're going to chow down. Boy, this smells so good. As you can see, this is excellent steamed vegetables here. And this is so healthy for you, much more so than some other vegetables, because this is wild edibles. This is very high in all kinds of vitamins here. One thing I wanted to mention, I didn't mention before, I did mention that you may want to keep adding vegetables in here when these start to cook down. If you do that, what you want to be very careful of is to make sure that you have water in the pot, because as you steam, you're steaming away the water. You don't want to get to the point where you're trying to steam but there's no water left in here, because you're going to burn the pot. So just whenever you take the lid off to check the vegetables, make sure there's water in there and that there's still steam coming out. But as you can see, this is excellent, excellent steamed vegetables here. Well, there you have it, people. This is our quick review, maybe not so quick, but a quick review of the various ways in which you can use the new Pathfinder 1.2 liter stainless steel kettle by Self-Reliance Outfitters. As you can see, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to enjoy my tea, which is more than enough, cool enough to eat now. And I'm dying to eat some of these vegetables, because these, oh, they're so soft and so chewable. And I know my wife's looking at me on the other side of the camera going, I want some of them too. So I'm going to have to leave her some. These are delicious. Anyway, I want to thank you for joining us today. I thank you for all your support for Survival Resources, and we'll see you next time around.